Good evening. You're watching Awaz News. I'm Kubra Ali. Here are today major updates from across Canada.
A Toronto man has been charged with terrorism-related offense after police say that he made public statements advocating for harm against members of the Israeli and Jewish communities. Police say that the allegations date back to pro-Palestinian demonstrations that were held in the Bay and Front Streets area on both May 25th and September 7th, 2024. It is alleged that the suspect attended the demonstrations and used amplification devices to make statements which police say advocated for the detestation and harm against members of the Israeli and Jewish communities. Police say that a search warrant was executed at a Toronto residence in the connection with the investigation on March 7, 2025, at which point multiple electronic devices were seized. Investigators with the Toronto Police Hate Crime Unit and the RCMP's Integrated National Security Enforcement Team INSET then gathered evidence supporting an allegation that the accused acted for the benefit of the association with Hamas, a designated terrorist group. Police say Ahmed Hassan Haj Ahmad, 33, of Toronto was arrested on Tuesday and charged with the count of participating in or contributing to the activities of a terrorist group. Police say that the Attorney General of Ontario and the Government of Canada both provided consent to proceed with the terror-related charge. The accused appeared in court on Tuesday. A member of the NFL's Arizona Cardinals has been charged with weapons offenses following a Durham police guns and gangs investigation that resulted in the seizure of a stolen loaded firearm and more than 3 kilograms of suspected fentanyl. Isaiah Derek Adams, 25, of Pickering, is among 4 people facing charges in connection with the investigation. An offensive lineman with the Cardinals, Adams is charged with possession of a firearm obtained by crime, possession of a restricted or prohibited firearm without a license, possession of a loaded firearm, and possession of a prohibited device. Adams is not facing any drug-related charges. In a news release issued earlier this week, Durham Regional Police said its Guns and Gangs unit concluded an investigation into a man believed to be a possession of a firearm and involved in drug trafficking on July 17. Police said they located the suspect and a woman inside a vehicle in Ajax, Ontario, and arrested them without incident. As a result, police uncovered more than 3 kilograms of suspected fentanyl. Following that, the discovery, officers later executed a search warrant at a Pickering, Ontario home where another woman was arrested. Investigators said there they seized a loaded firearm fitted with the prohibited overcapacity magazine along with a replica Uzi-style firearm. Police allege the loaded handgun had been stolen from the United States. The Cardinals, for their part, issued a statement to several media outlets saying they were aware of the incident. Out of respect for the process, we will refrain from commenting further at this time, they wrote. Adams played high school football at Father Donald McClellan Catholic Secondary School in Ajax. He was selected by the Cardinals in the 3rd round of the 2024 NFL Draft. A Brampton, Ontario man bought his wife a Lotto Max ticket for Mother's Day, and now the couple are multi-millionaires. Audrey and Wills W. have been playing the lottery for decades since moving to Canada from Jamaica. We came to Canada with nothing. We worked hard, learned to save, and never lived beyond our means, Audrey said. This past Mother's Day, Wills purchased a Lotto Max Quick Pick ticket. When Audrey checked to see if they had won anything through the old OLG app, she thought it was just $70. He glanced at it and said, "No, look again, because there are so many zeros." Audrey told the gaming corporation, "When I realized it was $70 million, I was shocked. I had to double check to make sure it was real." Once the realization sunk in, Audrey says she started jumping on the bed until she fell to her knees, overcome with joy. Before Audrey and Wills learned for their monumental windfall, their daughter had a sneaking suspicion that they had won after hearing the winning ticket was sold in Brampton. When we finally told her the news of the win, she smiled and said, "I knew it," Audrey recounted. The couple says it still feels surreal that they are new millionaires, while they have dreamed of all the ways they would spend their winnings if they had overscored a big prize. Audrey and Will said they never anticipated to win a jackpot so large, but they have some aspirations in mind. Audrey says she wants to build her dream home in Jamaica so they have a place where they can spend their winters. Will plans to restore some vintage cars. As a couple, they are looking to renovate their kitchen so they can create a space where their friends and family can come together for home cooked meals. The husband and wife had just recently retired and said this money will level up their retirement plans, allowing them to live on their own terms. That includes more travel, with their sights set on cruises through the Caribbean Sea. "As long as I have my wife, a nice home, and the sun is shining, everything is good," Will said. The winning Lotto Max ticket was purchased at the Canco one-stop gas station on Steeles Avenue in Brampton. The organization that regulates Ontario's medical profession says it has suspended the license of the doctor at Toronto's Hospital for Sick Children who was arrested Tuesday on charges related to child sexual abuse and exploitation material. The College of Physicians and Surgeons website says Dylan Disanayak is not permitted to practice medicine, adding an interim order to suspend his license was issued Tuesday. The site lists these charges against him as well as the conditions of his release on bail, which include a ban on being alone with any minors aside from his own children. In statement, a spokesperson for the college says the organization's inquiries committee can impose a suspension on an interim basis without notice when a doctor is likely to expose patients to harm or injury and urgent intervention is needed. Toronto police have charged Disanayak, 44, with both accessing and possessing child sexual abuse and exploitation material. They say investigators have found no evidence the material linked to the charges is related to Disanayak's work as a physician. The college site says Disanayak specializes in rheumatology and pediatrics and obtained his medical degree from the University of Toronto in 2014. Two men allegedly associated with the notorious criminal organization MS-13 are facing charges after police said they trafficked and sexually exploited a victim throughout the Greater Toronto area. In November 2025, police launched Project Mermaid after one of the suspects, who was serving a lengthy sentence at a Kingston, Ontario prison at the time, allegedly used an unauthorized cell phone to communicate with the victim and his co-accused. Investigators allege the two men used intimidation, manipulation, and the threats of violence to control the female victim while financially benefiting from her exploitation, police said in a news release issued Wednesday. Speaking to Awaz News, Deputy Sergeant Bob Hackenbrook couldn't say how exactly Gutierrez accessed a cell phone while imprisoned, but said it was used in at least two prison facilities. With the assistance of Ontario Provincial Police and the Correctional Service of Canada, officers executed 4 search warrants in the Mississauga and Collingwood areas in connection with the investigation. As a result, 42-year-old Mississauga resident Marcos Ariel Marinoni and 30-year-old Toronto resident Carlos Gutierrez were both charged with trafficking in persons, receiving benefit resulting from trafficking in persons, and advertising sexual services, along with several other charges. Toronto is looking to ban what is known as surveillance pricing in grocery stores, a practice that experts say could allow retailers to use shoppers' data to charge different prices for the same products. Also known as algorithmic or personalized pricing, surveillance pricing relies on information collected about individual consumers to see the most they are willing to pay, raising concerns about fairness, privacy, and transparency. On Tuesday, Mayor Olivia Chow announced she is putting forth a motion to effectively halt the practice that is gouging Torontonians. Emily Osborne, a policy researcher at the Canadian Shield Institute, says surveillance pricing uses personal data points to set individualized prices for consumers. Though it sounds similar to dynamic pricing, Osborne says the two are different. Dynamic pricing adjusts the cost on border real-time factors like demand, inventory, or weather. Surveillance pricing, she explains, uses data tied to an individual consumer to determine what that specific person might pay. Technology analyst Carmi Levi says surveillance pricing is controversial as consumers don't know when it's happening or what information is being used to determine prices. How that information is collected and used is not obvious, tangible, or visible to the consumer, he noted, which creates a lack of control for customers around the costs. The grocery stores use radio frequency identification RFID screens on their shelving to display the cost of each item. Levi says those screens can be changed dynamically based on current conditions. Osborne, meanwhile, says these electronic labels are the best prediction for how surveillance pricing work at the store, but ultimately there is a lack of evidence for how this practice is working exactly. 35-year-old man has been charged after allegedly stealing cash from a store in North York last week. The robbery happened on July 14, just before 11:45 a.m. near Islington Avenue and Milvick Drive, just south of Steeles Avenue West. Toronto police say a man walked into the store wearing a mask to hide his identity before approaching a person who was behind the counter. They say he then demanded cash while pointing a blunt object concealed under a towel at their shoulder. It is unclear what the object was. The victim then opened the cash register, police said, before the suspect took a quantity of cash and ran out into a truck that was parked outside. A week later, members of the hold-up squad stopped the suspect while he was driving his vehicle and executed a search warrant. Police said at the time of his arrest, clothes that were allegedly worn during the robbery were recovered. In a news release on Wednesday, police said they charged Toronto resident Christophe Thompson with robbery with an offensive weapon and disguise with intent. The charges have not been tested in court. Police are searching for at least 3 suspects after 8 businesses and restaurants were broken into over the span of just over 1 week in Durham Region. Durham Regional Police say the break-ins occurred between June 16 and June 24th in Oshawa and Clarington, Ontario. Police say a group of at least 2 to 3 people were involved in each incident, alleging they would break glass doors and windows before stealing a quantity of cash safes, stills, and other products. A red sedan was used as a getaway vehicle in several incidents, police said. In Oshawa, Walsing Vessel at 300 Taunton Road, Bulldog Pub at 600 Grandview Street, For Vietnam Restaurant at 299 King Street West, Friendly Greek at 646 King Street East, and Toadstool Pub at 701 Grandview Street North were broken into. In Clarington, police said Joey's World Playground at 330 Lake Road, Tyrone Mill at 62656 Concession Road 7, and Jack and Joe's Pub at 570 Longworth Avenue were targeted.
Thank you for watching Awaz News. I'm Kubra Ali. I'll see you tomorrow, same time, same channel. Have a good night.